Okay, imagine like an AI, one of those really sophisticated ones that can like write you a poem or even compose some music, maybe even code a website, like the whole thing. Now picture that same AI suggesting that we could improve healthcare just by like reducing the number of hospital beds. Sounds a little off, right?
Yeah, it really highlights that blind spot that AI has right now. For all the amazing things it can do, AI still struggles with that fundamental difference between correlation and causation.
It's like teaching a dog a trick. They might master the steps, but they don't really get the why behind it. And today's deep dive is all about that why. We're taking a closer look at this really interesting article, Testo and Collado. It dives deep into this very issue of AI often getting tripped up by this correlation versus causation problem.
And they make a really good point in the article. It's like that classic example of a child who notices that clouds,
Yeah.
they always seem to show up before it rains, but they don't get the science behind it. They don't understand the whole weather pattern thing that's actually driving that sequence. So they see the what's, but they're missing the why.
Exactly. And as Testo and Collado points out, that little word why can lead to some pretty wild conclusions. Like they give this example about hospital beds and patient mortality. An AI just crunching the numbers might look at the data and think, well, more beds equals more deaths. So to save lives, we need fewer beds.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example of where things can go wrong. That AI is completely missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. Hospitals with more beds, those are usually the ones equipped to handle the most serious cases. So it's not the number of beds, it's the severity of the illnesses that's really driving that higher mortality rate.
So the AI is so hyper-focused on these individual data points that it totally misses the bigger picture.
Precisely. And the article gives another great example, glasses and grades. An AI might notice that students who wear glasses tend to have higher grades.
And jump to the conclusion that glasses equal higher intelligence.
Right, like it's the glasses themselves causing the academic boost.
When in reality, it's the fact that those glasses are correcting an underlying vision problem, allowing those students to actually see the board and read their textbooks.
Exactly. The AI is fixated on the correlation, but it's missing that crucial causal link. And they even bring up that classic example, the one about storks and babies.
Ah, yes. The more storks you see, the more babies are born.
It's a funny way to illustrate a serious point. Just because two things happen together doesn't mean one causes the other.
It's not like the storks are delivering those babies.
Right. It's more likely that both higher stork populations and higher birth rates are more common in rural areas for totally different reasons, like socioeconomic factors, that kind of thing. But it shows how easy it is to mistake correlation for causation, even for a system as powerful as AI.
And this isn't just some, academic exercise. We're not just talking about storks and babies here. This whole correlation causation thing, it has real world consequences.
Absolutely, especially as AI starts playing a bigger role in things that really matter, like healthcare or criminal justice.
Exactly. Testo and Collado really drives that point home.
Imagine an AI making recommendations about medical treatments, just based on what it's gleaned from data, without actually understanding how diseases work.
Or think about algorithms being used to, help determine sentencing guidelines.
That could have huge implications, right? Especially if the AI is working with data that's already biased in some way.
It could end up perpetuating harmful patterns instead of helping us break free from them.
Exactly, and it's not just a hypothetical concern. Tester in Collado talks about this real-world case where an AI linked new housing developments to an increase in illnesses.
Oh, wow. So at first glance, you might think, oh, there must be something wrong with the buildings themselves.
Right, like some kind of environmental factor within the houses. But that's the kind of conclusion an AI might reach if it's just looking at the data without that deeper understanding. The real culprit in this case was air pollution.
Ah, so it wasn't the housing itself, it was the location?
Exactly.
Huh.
Both the new developments and the higher rates of illness were concentrated in areas with really bad air quality. And that's a connection that the AI completely missed.
Which just goes to show we can't just let AI loose on these complex problems without some careful thought and guidance.
Exactly. Human judgment is still so important. We bring that contextual understanding, the ethical considerations, all those things that AI still struggles with.
It's like we've got this powerful new tool, but we need a steady hand to guide it. So where do we go from here? Is there a way to bridge this gap between correlation and causation in AI?
Well, Testo and Collado does offer a glimmer of hope. They talk about this emerging field of causal AI.
Causal AI. Now that sounds interesting. Tell me more.
So unlike traditional AI, which is mostly focused on pattern recognition, causal AI aims to actually understand the why behind the what.
So instead of just noticing that ice cream sales and sunburns both go up in the summer, this new type of AI could actually understand that it's the warm weather that's driving both trends.
Exactly, that's the goal. It's a tough challenge, though. It requires huge data sets, really sophisticated algorithms, and a deep understanding of how to figure out cause and effect.
But the payoff could be huge, right? Imagine an AI that could not only identify problems, but actually help us understand and solve them at a much deeper level.
Exactly, and Testo Encalado highlights some promising early efforts in this area, like OpenAI's Project Strawberry, which is now called O1 Preview.
And what does O1 Preview do?
It's designed to tackle really complex reasoning tasks, the kinds of tasks that require that ability to untangle cause and effect.
So it's like taking those first steps toward building an AI that can actually think like a scientist.
In a way, yeah. The early results are promising, but it's still early days. We need to be cautious and make sure that these powerful new tools are developed and used responsibly.
So does this mean we're all out of a job now? With AI becoming so smart and even starting to understand this whole cause and effect thing, are we humans even necessary anymore?
That's a great question, and it's one that Testo and Collado really grapples with. And their argument is actually the opposite. They say that this evolution of AI makes human judgment even more crucial.
Really? How so?
Because we bring something to the table that AI still just can't replicate. Things like common sense, ethical reasoning, all that real-world experience we accumulate over a lifetime.
It's like AI can analyze mountains of data, but it doesn't inherently understand what it means to be human.
Exactly. And they illustrate this with a really powerful example. Imagine an AI that sees a connection between deforestation and the spread of certain diseases.
So it might assume that cutting down trees directly causes those illnesses.
Right, and that's where the AI's analysis would stop. But we as humans, with our understanding of complex ecosystems,
We can see that it's not quite so simple.
exactly, we can grasp those more nuanced connections, like habitat loss, pushing animals into closer contact with humans.
Which could lead to more opportunities for those diseases to jump from animals to people.
Exactly. It's about understanding that whole chain reaction.
The underlying mechanisms that drive these complex situations.
And that's where human insight is so crucial. We can look beyond the raw data and see the bigger picture.
It reminds me that saying, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Right. AI is a tool, a powerful tool, but it takes human judgment to know when and how to use it effectively.
When to apply force, when to be a little more delicate, and when to realize that maybe a hammer isn't the right tool for the job at all.
They even have this great analogy in the article about cooking. Imagine an AI that analyzes recipes and notices that a certain spice consistently gets rave reviews.
So naturally, it recommends adding that spice to every single dish.
Exactly.
Right.
But any good chef will tell you that it's all about balance. Sometimes that spice just doesn't belong.
Oh, believe me, my spice cabinet has seen some things. Some culinary experiments are best left untested.
Exactly. And that's what human expertise brings to the table. That intuition, those years of accumulated knowledge and understanding that goes way beyond just data points.
So as we wrap up here, what's the key takeaway for our listeners today? In this world where AI is becoming more and more integrated into our lives, what should we keep in mind?
Stay curious. Stay critical. Just because an AI tells you something doesn't make it true.
Don't be afraid to question the assumptions.
Exactly. Consider different perspectives, and most importantly, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is.
Because at the end of the day, AI is a tool. It's a powerful tool, but it's still a tool. And it's up to us to use it ethically, effectively, and for the benefit of everyone. That's a great place to leave it. I'll leave you with this thought. If an AI were to analyze your life, what correlations would it draw? And more importantly, what causal links might it be missing completely? This is The Deep Dive, signing off until next time. Keep questioning, keep learning, and keep exploring that fascinating intersection of human ingenuity and artificial intelligence.